Hello.
Hi, Amit. Hi, everyone.
Yeah. Uh, hi. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks,
I
Amit.
think till now no one has joined because
Yeah, I think we have some participants.
okay.
Uh, I think there is something to do
Yeah,
with
someone.
admitting
Yeah,
participants in Zoom. So
yeah,
yeah,
they joined.
yeah, just getting started. Hi, Laura. Hi, Raj. Just wait for some more time. I think we are about a couple of minutes away from starting.
Yes, Karthik.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining in. We'll get started in a couple of minutes. I think we have some more folks um, who need to join.
Guys, are you able to hear me?
Yes.
I'm not able to hear anyone.
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Okay, that's great. Let me share my screen. Is the screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. So hi everyone. Thanks for joining in. I think this is the 10th community sync up for Litmus Chaos. And today also happens to be the release day of 1.3. So happy coincidence. We'll talk about 1.3 as part of our agenda. Please add your questions or your agenda items here, or you can even put that on the chat if there are any questions or if there's something that you would like to talk about upfront. So let me go ahead and probably just introduce some new members on this call. Let me take a look at the participants. Okay, so we've got Laura and Sumit, Ajay, Shuma, Ashish, Christopher, Jack. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Jack.
Hi, Jack. Great to have you here. Would you like to just introduce yourself a little bit? Talk about your interest in chaos engineering in general.
Oh wait, I think I'm in the wrong class. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. Fine. So these are the agenda items we have for today. There is a session that will be provided by Sumit. It's basically about how he has been using Argo project with Litmus for running his chaos workflows. And then we have a quick recap of the 1.3 items and a short demo of some of the features that we've rolled out. And if there are any other questions in general, or if there are any discussions that you would like to have around the upcoming or planned items for 1.4, we can do that. So yeah, that's what we have as part of the agenda. Does anyone have anything that they would like to call out upfront? Anything that they would like to discuss? Okay, so I think
I had something I wanted to discuss.
okay.
Progress update on scheduled chaos.
Okay.
And because as you recall, that's something that I posted a manifest a while ago that showed how I was doing that.
Right.
But it is kind of an awkward way to do it, and you know, we'd like a better way. And also, the other question I have is, would that way that I'm using right now be something I think Kartik said that I should submit a PR for the method I'm using, which I'm happy to do. But it really depends on how long it'll be before scheduled chaos is, if it's worth going through that effort.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think we'll take these questions.
And it would be nice if you can cover that. What's new in the 1.3?
Yeah. Yes, Sumit. We do have one of the agenda items. We'll do a quick recap of 1.3 as well. Cool. I think with that, we can get started. So Sumit, would you like to share your screen? Let me just stop sharing mine.
Are you able to see my screen?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay, so I'm Sumit. I'm a principal engineer in Intuit, and working from more than a decade. I work for almost all the Intuit product. And as you all know, that Intuit is started contributing to open source and Argo and a few of the notable projects on a Kubernetes and the Kubernetes CI/CD and deployment are coming from the Intuit in the name of Argo and open source. So that's a little background about me and my team and how Intuit is contributing to open source. The engagement with the Litmus been started around, I think, 2 months for now. Probably Karthik can correct me, but last
Yeah.
community meeting was the real engagement started. And we built something already homegrown, and we are still working to see that how we can leverage the Kubernetes native way. We did a bunch of other POCs, and right now we are doing or integrating with the Litmus, and we actually contributed back to the Litmus with one of our uh, uh, work, and that is to make sure that all our work which we have created as part of the framework can be leveraged by the loosely coupled framework provided by Litmus. So that's a very high level overview. And then I can right now quickly talk about that how this is a core, the way how Litmus is actually been designed. I'm just follow that slide, but here if you could see that there are experiments, many experiments you have engine, there is operator running, operator will initiate the runner, and then experiment will go, and then there is an event. Now we added one specific thing which is very specific for us or Intuit, which is all about the all result we are putting to one centralized place. So this is the one change we did, and I think with the latest 1.3 it will be available. There is a chat message. Okay, so now let's see that how this whole thing is in place. So before doing that, let me just share what we have. Okay, so you could see that I have a couple of CRDs. I have and then I have created one chaos experiment, and this chaos experiment is completely homegrown experiment. And what is that? Let me just talk about that. So this is the right now, I think last release they provided support for the service owner as well as the cluster admin. Service owner support was there from long, so I will try to cover that today. This is a brief agenda item. So how I'm doing the using the Litmus using our chaos toolkit. How many of you know about chaos toolkit?
Yeah, me.
Okay, cool. So chaos toolkit has been started by Russ and Sylvan, and we believe that that's one very good way how the many of the different extension or different framework could be or technologies could be created or being used as part of framework. And what we have done is that we have wrapped those things around and created container image, and that container image will be fed as a custom resource. So if you could see that this is nothing but the chaos framework, and you have we wrap it up in the Python. Initially, it was Python service, but now we converted that to a Python code base, and then we expose as a custom resource. Now, with that, the flexibility is coming, which is, I think, one of the core principle for the Litmus is also the loosely coupled thing. So now, if I need to modify something for my Kubernetes extension, or if I need to enhance my Kubernetes extension, I don't need to rely on anything. I will go and contribute to the Kubernetes extension, and which we are right now doing that. And that way I can get the functionality. Now this functionality will be exposed as a custom resource. So let's go and look into that, what we have actually execute. So now I have one experiment, and this experiment can be run by one of the engines. So engine is nothing but a custom resource. So this is one custom resource I have defined, and this is actually available as part of the core package. If you go back to Litmus chaos charts, this is available here. You can go and you can look at it. So this is the custom resource, and now in the custom resource, what we are doing is that this is the experiment we have defined. The thing which we have defined here is the initiation. So we are saying that anything related to Kubernetes is coming, let's wrap it up in the K8 wrapper, and then all those environment, we will pass it as a environment properties. So this is one chaos experiment there. Now to initiate this, we need engine, right? So to do the work of engine, where we can override and we can plan that, this is the standard already checked in code for the chaos chart, where you could see that this is the default chaos engine, and then here we are passing specific namespace label and the app endpoint and all the environment which we need to type in. Now here, if you could see that this is actually being using one of the service account. The similar way, there is another one which is created using or leveraging the cluster admin account. So that's also being added. So here there is a example of the KIM, which it is using from one account to the other account. So now we talk about the engine, we talk about the experiments. Now for the demo purpose, I'm using one of our real application in place of the core Nginx image. So and I have set it up this RBAC mode. So I have defined this RBAC. I have defined this RBAC on my namespace, which is different. Here you could see that this is the namespace. Now I am targeting this on a different namespace. This namespace is not the same. From one namespace we are targeting the other namespace. So let's go and create this. So when I execute, and I will go walk through about this specific parts. So you could see that this thing has started the runner. And then with that runner, as we all know that runner is a secondary reconcile object, it will start initiating my container image. Logs minus f. I have started, and the same time I am running the test against this environment, and it is going and deleting that. specific pod. Now, just to show that, because there is the different naming for our app, the only thing which we have changed is that this namespace value and the target namespace. So now with the same namespace, we have built a concept of many of the execution. Now here we have defined a JSON file. This is pod app kill health, and like that we have defined a bunch of JSON file which we believe most of the Kubernetes scenarios could be covered. So this is and this has already been available with the latest 1.3 release, where we are, this is the framework configuration where we are setting up some label and namespace, and we define app endpoint. And the reason why we defined app point, because we wanted to hit the ingress and ensure that during the chaotic operation, the service should be up. So we first go and validate that service is up. We pass this information, which will go and kill one of the pod with this label selector. And then again, it will go back and it will again do the steady state hypothesis. And this is what exactly happened here. So now the other pod has come back. Now here, one other thing which we started, which I have rightly pointed out, is that we started pushing this event to our Kafka bus. So what that meant is that this pod will provide some meaningful information so that we have track that what has actually happened, and that is visible. So this is the just new execution. We have done that. It's a full-blown JSON blob, and we have provided a mechanism as part of this execution that if you wanted to use that, you use, otherwise you can just get this printed. So if you just pass the report as true, you will get the JSON blob. If you have defined a Kafka or any HTTP endpoint, you provide that, otherwise you can leave it. By the way, this event is anyway going to the Kubernetes. So this is one end-to-end flow. Now, as we are pioneer in the Argo and we work closely with the Argo and Argo workflow, we thought, like, is there a better way to do this automation? So what we have done is that we have wrapped this whole thing on the Argo. So what that mean? So Argo has many projects. One of the projects is Argo workflow. Argo workflow goes in a manner where you define or you customize certain parameters, and you use the flow, and as part of that flow you define that how and what you wanted to execute. So in this scenario, as right now there is a defect in the Litmus where you have to clean up the existing chaos engine CR, I added a core concept, and this concept could go leaps and bounds based on our scenario. I will share one of the tests where we are running the chaos and performance test. So here I'm just executing run chaos. Run chaos is nothing but one CR which we have actually submitted. So this is the CR where we're defining a chaos engine, and a lot of things we have actually parameterized this, and then here we are passing the admin use case, and then rest of the thing is same. And then same thing, we are defining the different workflow. So to do this, I will just submit the CR, and again it is going into the from one namespace to other namespace. This is going from the namespace which is infra namespace, which is we call as a PFI, and it will go to the PRF namespace, which is defined here. And we are planning to push this code very soon. We are in the process of making compatible with the Nginx and other stuff. But as the workflow requires some setup, we really don't want it to just add these YAML and things will not be able to consume. So we are still working on that. So now here I just did that, and then if you could see that this thing has already started. As we are leading the Argo's part, you could see. So through Argo CD, you could see that this one is also done. This is one pod is terminated, other pod is coming. And here also you could see that. And the same time, we can go and we can look into the log. But Argo right now started providing the UI, and the latest Argo workflow has the latest Argo workflow release. I think today they have some community meeting. They have come up with the really nice UI, and there are a lot of capability Argo workflow is launching in the latest release. So please go and check that out. And right now here you could see that I started that, I run the workflow, and then I reverted back. So now I'm completely in the current state, and I can keep submitting all this execution to my Kubernetes cluster. The only thing which I need to do is I need to change that parameter. And just to add that, to add full automation, we have actually added as part of the Jenkins. So we can have actually, you can trigger that via Jenkins. And then via Jenkins, you can just parameterize all those options, because now you have one other thing which we are planning to do that, which is just a teaser for this community, is that as we are actually running the reliability for our Kubernetes platform, and as part of that, we are trying to attaching the Kubernetes performance as well as the reliability side by side. So this is just right now still we have not pushed it, but the ideal way which I believe for the chaos engineering is that we really don't want it to kill the pods. We really wanted to check the functionality, and how you can check the functionality is only when you have the functional or performance test running, and then you do the chaotic operation. So this is a teaser which we will be adding or contributing back, where you are going, and this is the service use case, you're going and running the specific RBAC, running the test, reverting chaos, reverting RBAC, so that your infra or namespace come in that same state. And the same time you started running the execution of the test, and then you run the test and you do this. This is one of the framework which we are planning to open source, so that anyone who wanted to run the performance test, they should be able to run without worrying about the tooling and other stuff. So that's pretty much from my side, and this will have another event come. So there is another event has come. And Argo will provide a watch, so that watch will tell that what has been done. Any question?
Yeah, thanks for the great session, Sumit. I think that was really informative. Do we have any questions for Sumit?
Quick one, Sumit. Thank you very much. So you said you are trying to push some of this Argo workflow back into Litmus. I just want to understand, is this Argo the workflow, is it like a set of YAMLs,
Yes.
just like Litmus YAMLs?
Exactly. But to run the Argo workflow, you require two component, and that was a thing that required some setup. So you need to install Argo workflow on, and Argo workflows are another type of CRDs. You need to install those workflow on that specific namespace, and then the Argo workflow CRDs we submitting through the YAML, and YAML are nothing but their custom resource.
Awesome, thank you. I think the last example that you showed where you're running a performance test at the same time you can configure chaos to be run at each stage was a great example of what a great solution can be when you use both the Argo and Litmus together. That was very nice. Thank you.
Sure. And we are actively contributing back to what we are leveraging from Litmus. We already contributed for Kubernetes. From my team, Vijay and Naveen, Vijay will be contributing for EC2. We already submitted a PR for Chaos Operator. So we are not only leveraging their functionality, we are contributing back also.
Thank you. Awesome. Yeah, it's a community project. Just as a quick update, I asked that question in today's SIGAP delivery meeting, and they're going to get back to us on our sandbox proposal this week. So most likely in about a month, we should be at a stage where we are looking for sponsors, TOC sponsors, and shortly after that, we should be a project of CNCF sandbox. Litmus. So that's a quick update to the community.
Thanks, Uma. Yeah, I hope that we have some more traction coming in and we make more progress on the sandbox side. So the next agenda item is the questions that Christopher has shared. So the first question is about progress update on the scheduled chaos. So Christopher, this is an item which has been prioritized for 1.4. Let me just show the milestones that we have. So some of the items in 1.4 include increased support for OpenShift and providing some GitLab remote templates, adding more charts, and improving the resiliency of the framework itself. Having said that, the support for scheduling policies of chaos resources, that is by scheduling policies, we are meaning the ability to schedule the Litmus pods on a particular node or tolerate certain taints, etc. Pod scheduling. And while it might not be actually visible here, we might move that. We probably can have a sprint planning meeting tomorrow. The scheduled chaos is something that we're planning to include for 1.4. And on how it is shaping up, it's primarily going to be based upon cron jobs in the back end, but it will have some additional wrapper logic that will help you to schedule the experiments within certain time ranges, and also allow you to specify either a minimum chaos interval or a certain number of instance counts for which the chaos can be performed, and also define an execution pattern, that is whether it can be random execution within the two start and end points that you've mentioned, or it can be sequential at every particular period of time, every particular interval, like a regular cron job would do. So this is how it is shaping up, and it might be a separate custom resource. It might probably not be fit into the chaos engine, but might actually be a resource in itself, which might work alongside the chaos engine. Yeah, that's a rough explanation about how we are headed, and this should make an appearance at least in alpha state for 1.4.
Got it. It turns out that first approach that I listed when I created that issue no longer works. or that second approach there, delete the chaos engine pod periodically. It doesn't
Right.
work anymore because of the retain behavior change. So actually,
Right.
I will update that issue with my actual code.
Sure.
And where was it that I should post the PR potentially for the code?
Yeah, so there is this, if I've just shown the docs page, we have a section called as advanced, and the user workflows, which are probably needing some additional configuration, are being placed here at this point.
Okay.
We could have a separate section just to define scheduling as well. I'm recommending it to be placed here so that when the actual scheduling logic is built, we could probably dedicate a separate section for it. So I think right now this could be one possible place. I think we added the administrator mode functionality documentation here. We could just have another document for schedule. And of particular interest to the community, I suppose, would be the way you are actually running the event exporters for basically exposing the Kubernetes events from Litmus as Prometheus metrics, and using that in a Grafana dashboard to view things.
Right.
So I think that's also pretty cool.
Yeah, so I believe you had looked at something called Event Exporter, and I shied away from that largely because I think the URL to the company that created it doesn't work anymore, if I recall correctly. And it's from it looked promising, it just wasn't. And then the other, I don't know. It wasn't Event Exporter. It was some other.
The event router from Heptio?
No, that's what I'm using. Event router from Heptio is what I'm using, and that works great. There was another one that Kartik had been looking at.
Yeah, I think that was called CAI Cloud Event Exporter. It shows up pretty early on this one.
Yeah. So if you go to that, if you click on their, let me see. Well, it looks like they're still updating it. But if you clicked on their their website, like in the docs, like CIA Cloud, their website wasn't working, which gave me an indicator that maybe this works. But anyway, the event router from Heptio worked fine. So I would recommend that. It seems pretty. The other reason is it's lightweight and it's been stable since like 2017. All it does is takes all Kubernetes events and throws them into Prometheus. Now you may have some problems with metric retention, and we may want to eventually come up with our own exporter or fork the event router from Heptio and create a Litmus version of that does the export. But otherwise, we're using it now to correlate when chaos runs with the service stability, like service uptime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good question. On the what is being done on the exporter side or on the metric side is we just made some incremental progress from the past releases. In this release, I'll just talk about it when I go through the release items. What we've done is we've just made the exporter as a cluster-wide entity rather than being a namespace scoped pod. So we used to launch it along with the chaos runner. So it used to be a secondary resource that was getting launched whenever you created a chaos engine CR. But not anymore. We are actually bringing it to the operator level and deploying it alongside the operator. So you have visibility of the chaos metrics across namespaces. Having said that, the number of metrics that it is exposing today continues to remain more or less the same. It's about when you start a particular experiment, and it basically captures the state of the experiment as it transitions from running to pass or fail, and then also gives some additional metrics for bookkeeping purposes, like what are the total number of experiments that have passed, failed, or how many are there in a chaos engine, etc.
Karthik,
So,
can I add something here?
sure, Sumit.
So we do have the same use case, and if you've seen that, like we have added the support for report and the report endpoint via our execution. What that will do is that if you have any endpoint, either Kafka, Grafana, or whichever, you can push a HTTP event. Though we know for sure that your event has there is still some result need to be worked, but right now if you're looking for pass fail thing as well as what has been executed, we have added support, and I think I would suggest that you explore that, and if whichever Grafana instance you have, just try to push it the event there with our toolkit, and then let us know. Because for till this thing is coming, you need a way where you can see that how many transaction or how many chaotic operation you have done that. And we have actually attached not only the chaos, but we attach the performance also, because now here there are two distinct things, right? If somehow you put the chaos specific thing via K8 event, if you tomorrow are adding a functionality or the performance test, how that event will go to the Kubernetes, it will be challenging, right? So we maintain a separate Kafka bus, and in that we push all the events.
Yeah, so so just to summarize what Sumit is saying, there are like a couple of things we can derive from there. So one is when your application or your experiment business logic, the chaos experiment is very specific to a particular use case, the result can be interpreted in different ways. There's no just one way of saying this experiment is a pass or a fail. You might want to provide your own way of defining what your result looks like. That is where the JSON reports that are getting generated in Chaos Toolkit are handy. I think for non-Chaos Toolkit experiments as well, we can support this by allowing additional fields in the chaos result, which a user can go and patch with his own information. And then the question is, what do you do with that particular information? You either convert it into a Kubernetes event, which, like Sumit is saying, you can put it as a Kafka topic, or you can, or like Christopher is saying, you can move it. You can basically use it along with event exporter to push it into some other sync. So apart from this, we're also looking at some standard chaos metrics around an experiment, Sumit. Apart from user-defined ones, you might need that to actually say how your experiments have been performing over a period of time. Say, which experiment is performing in what way across releases. And you might also want to, like Christopher has been using these metrics to identify when the chaos exactly is starting and how his application is behaving in that period when the test is alive. So I think some kind of standardization of metrics and how Litmus can support those standard metrics is what we are looking at through the chaos operator. We'll definitely look at the support that you have added in Chaos Toolkit. I think if it's something that we can use as is, I think that's great. If there is some way where we can integrate that while also providing some other standard interface, I think that's also something that we'll explore. So like I mentioned, I think the exporter today is still a bit primitive, but I think we've made some progress in ensuring that it is moved to a cluster-wide level to have visibility across engines. I think there is also some items for 1.4 where we will have more focus on this, probably have item to explore what Sumit has been suggesting, and also try and see if we can also look at the event exporter from Heptio, and also work on what our original roadmap has been towards that exporter. So one question I had, Christopher, is since you're already using the event router along with Litmus events, would you like to put up some small write-up here along with the cron write-up? I think people might find that really useful until we make more progress.
Sure, I can do that in the Litmus Docs advanced category. Sure. Yeah, if that's a good place to put that stuff, then I will do that. May take me a little bit to get time to do it, but
Sure.
I should be able to have something either within the next week or so in there. The other thing I wanted to mention that is very useful about the Heptio event router, or having all of your Kubernetes events exported to whatever metrics system you want, Kafka, Hadoop, whatever. You can correlate other Kubernetes events that are non-chaos related with it. So for example, I was running Node CPU hog, and I was running it so aggressively that I basically shut down the entire cluster, and every pod was getting evicted, which is what you want to see. Like, that was the expected behavior, but like, I was able to correlate the pod eviction with when the chaos was running. So like, I needed metrics that were outside of the chaos space to be able to correlate, hey, while chaos was running, Kubernetes evicted 90% of all pods. You want to know that, right?
Yeah.
So it's not just so that's the other reason I think that why using Kubernetes events is a really good standardized solution for this. Like, it might just be that Litmus says, we export everything to events, we guarantee that, we provide some way to, filter it so it doesn't spam your events if you want to, but otherwise, here are supported solutions for exporting events to standard things like Prometheus and Kafka and what have you. That might be a better way to set up the tooling rather than just directly exporting.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. Okay, so that were some questions. Thanks for the points, Sumit and Christopher. I think we will take that into consideration. Maybe feel free to create some issues or basically put up something on the Slack as well. We can continue the discussion there. So that was about the questions. So if we don't have any more questions or anything to discuss specifically, we could just do a very quick run through of what we have from 1.3. I don't have a blog today that I used to sort of preview in every community release. We'll get that probably in a day or two and share it on Slack, but I have the release notes, so I'll just run through them. So we have introduced what is called as admin mode functionality. This is the name that we've given to the use case of Litmus, where the chaos resources, that is the chaos experiments, the experiment specific RBAC, and the chaos engines are all created in one namespace. It could be Litmus where the operator resides, or it can be a different namespace. And you could still run your chaos on applications which are in their respective namespaces. So what this helps you do is you don't have to repeat or you don't have to copy the chaos experiments into all the hundreds of namespaces where the apps are present. That use case is still relevant in some scenarios, while this seems to be a more popular way of using it. So thanks to Christopher for suggesting this, and Sumit also. So this is basically there as part of 1.3. And we've introduced Helm charts, mainly for the Litmus infrastructure components, that is the Litmus CRDs and the operator, the RBAC for the operator. So what this actually helps with is your CRD. This is basically in effect similar to the operator manifest that we have been using all along, but there are some people who prefer Helm to manage their application templates, and therefore this is for them. And we also have a Helm chart for the chaos charts, which we would keep updating. And why we would recommend users to use the hub, where we've been spending some more effort in trying to optimize it and make it more user friendly. You could also use the Helm charts. Again, this helps you to template it in a single place. The download of version chaos chart bundles, thanks to David, who is not on the call, but this was a requirement that came through from him. So in the Litmus hub, you actually can now select versions. Thanks to Chandan for quickly getting this feature up. So you could choose your chart bundle by going through these versions. We've started doing releases on the charts from 1.10 onwards. So the docs also have been updated to use the experiment links from here. So that is a nifty feature. If you are on an older release and want to browse manifests from there, from that release, you could do that now. And we are supporting custom annotation filters. So if you are totally based on GitOps like Sumit, and you would like to give your own annotations on your applications, maybe that's the annotation that you've also been using for some other purposes, then Litmus allows you to do that. Not only litmuschaos.io/chaos equals to true, which is the standard, but you could also use other annotations and just use this as an operator env. And we're also planning to do a set of whitelisting. So instead of just one annotation, we'll probably allow for a list of them in a subsequent release. And this is the chaos exporter change I was speaking about, where you can deploy the chaos exporter alongside the operator, probably even reuse the same service account, and get the metrics for different experiment states and total counts, something that's in progress, work in progress. Then we've got some more Kubernetes events. We've added events across different components, the operator, runner, and experiment in the last release, but we've added some more negative or failure handling events in this release. So let's say you've not been able to patch a chaos engine, or you're not able to create the resources because you don't have enough permissions, etc. You will still get an event that talks about that failure. And this was about the framework enhancements, most of these. And the subsequent changes are mostly experiment related changes. So we've added new experiments in the OpenEBS chart for NFS provisional failures. We've got a Cassandra chart. So the Cassandra chaos chart actually is also something that the community was requesting alongside Kafka. So you can actually kill the Cassandra nodes. There are liveness checks that will run through the experiment duration and find out if the ring is still active and it is serving the client requests. There will be some CRUD operations that will be performed continuously, like key space creation, deletion, that we will keep doing to see whether the Cassandra is alive. And post checks for data persistence are also available as part of this chart. So that was about the Cassandra chaos. And we have some additions to the generic experiments in the pod level memory hog experiments. So we had a pod CPU hog experiment in the previous release. So we've added the pod level memory hog. So basically leverages DD functionality and the special files dev0 and dev null. So we basically can provide as a user the amount of memory we want consumed, and that's going to use up that chunk of memory for the duration of chaos. And we've got some fantastic enhancements on the chaos toolkit experiment from Sumit. The reporting that he just discussed, you have JSON based, blob based result artifacts that are getting generated by the experiment. And pod deletes can now be executed in different failure modes. You can run single pod failure, multi-pod failure, pod failures with health endpoint checks as the steady state and post chaos checks. Those are all supported with the new version. Then we've made some, these are the new experiments. Then there are some enhancements to the existing experiments. Basically provide some more user-friendly functionality, provide CPU core count as an user input for the node CPU hog experiment. And the container kill experiment was a one-time test. You would kill the container just once and the test would end. But now we've got the support for doing that on repeat mode. You can specify a queue's duration with an interval, and you can keep killing the containers for as long as you want. And this is the enhancements made to existing experiments. And there have been some bookkeeping and general framework or general improvements to the repo and project management stuff, such as there were some restructuring of the chaos lib directory to place task files, Ansible task files under the respective tool. So it was not exactly placed in the desired manner earlier. So we've made some bookkeeping enhancements there. And we've also improved the experiment logs to be more informative and context based. So it will tell you whether the experiment is preparing for chaos, injecting chaos, or doing a cleanup or doing verification. So these are called out more clearly in the experiments. So that's one thing. And we've added some security scans using the Aqua Security Trivi scanning tool as part of the Travis builds and Circle J builds on all the Litmus components. So most components today are vulnerability free. We have one component that is the runner, Chaos Runner, which has a couple of vulnerabilities called out, which we will be fixing by making changes to the base image in the upcoming release. But nevertheless, we've got that information today by adding these scans. Some more CI enhancements by adding lint checks for the playbooks and generally E2E enhancements. The E2E repo now has additional tests for all the new functionality, the admin mode, ability to run parallel chaos engines across namespaces, engine patch validation, etc. And there have been some documentation added. So we've got the admin mode discussed here, and then we also have a document that is describing the integration with the other chaos tools. So there are two types of integration modes we support today. One is addition of a new chaos tool as a lib within Litmus, or as in Sumit's case, you have an entire experiment business logic which you can get orchestrated by Litmus. So we have that presentation added, and we've got another artifact inside of Litmus. Basically, this is called releases, and it is just a description of what all has happened across the different releases. We are yet to update it for 1.3. So it basically is a one-stop shop to find out all the release-related artifacts, the nodes, the corresponding documentation in the charts bundle, etc. Thanks to Laura for actually insisting on placing this information to be helpful to the users. So that's a really good feedback that we received. And we've also noted down some general considerations, again, based on Laura's suggestion, in the README of Litmus, where we're talking about some general considerations along with Litmus. So we are yet to support containerd and cryo runtimes. And there's also the case where some of the users are using Litmus in air-gapped environments. If you're using that in this way, then you might have to have the repos or the private image repositories, registries holding the images of Litmus, which you can pull with image secrets. So that's something that you probably need to take care. And general secrets management in Litmus plays all via Kubernetes secrets. If you are having credentials for access to cloud platforms, you might have to create Kubernetes secrets. And we are working on trying to integrate it with other secret management, secret lifecycle management tools. And yeah, that's mostly it. So there's where some of the changes made into the documentation. And then there have been some bug fixes. There were a couple of bugs reported from our users and found as part of our E2E testing, which we have fixed in the operator and also in the developer guides and in the experiments themselves. So that's all we have as part of the release summary. Is there any questions we have on any of these release items? We'll have a blog that probably talks about some of these in greater detail, which I'll share on Slack. But otherwise, do we have any questions? Okay, fine.
Oh,
I think
one question I just thought of. How is the work for getting Litmuses to be a CNCF project been going?
a good question. Uma, would you like to take that question? To answer that, Christopher. So we, as you know, we have submitted the sandbox proposal, and it is under consideration by the SIG app delivery. So the process is the TOC initially does a triage and assigns the proposal to a particular SIG, and the SIG then does some kind of due diligence and makes some recommendation to the authors to fill in some information and just basically provide some information about the project. And I think we are at that stage. We've been assigned to the SIG app delivery SIG, and the chairs of that SIG are actually reviewing our proposal, and they have told us that they will get back to us in this week or the next. We just had the SIG app delivery sync up call before the Litmus community sync up just an hour ago. So that's the status. And once we have that information, it probably be recommended by the SIG into the TOC again for finding sponsors who can sponsor this project. And that's the process. We are at the stage where the SIG is going through our proposal. Seems to be going well. We've got some positive feedback on the proposal that was submitted. It seems to be containing all the information that they mostly need. So we are hoping that it will go through. That's where we stand.
Cool. So we'll have some updates on that in the next meeting.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I think we are mostly on time. We just have a minute left. We had a small demo planned. Udit was scheduled to give that demo. It was about how you can use the Helm charts and the admin mode and the new experiment. Probably we are going to record some of these capabilities and put them up on YouTube. So do subscribe to the Litmus Chaos YouTube channel, which will keep getting updated with some of these functionality videos. We have some of the experiment videos already updated there, and these community sync up calls, which are being recorded, will also be put up there. And there is going to be a virtual meetup, most probably. We have a meetup, an on-premise or a in-person meet that sort of happens every month in Bangalore in the Maya Data office. I think because of the COVID situation, I think we're all working remotely, and we've been conducting remote meetups. I think the last one was a remote meetup. There's going to be one this month as well, most probably in the coming week. So we will share the invites for that on Slack. So it's typically going to be on a Saturday morning. So I think please do make it for that meet, just to have some more discussions in depth on any topic that you would like to speak, or you could basically sign up to just show what you've been doing with Litmus or generally Chaos. Yeah, so that's all we had. Thanks for joining. I think some great questions and a wonderful demo from Sumit. So 1.4 items will be updated in the project board, and in the milestones will be marked for them. I'll be sharing the milestones for milestones page for 1.4 shortly. We might be doing a patch release in between just to address some of the user requirements quickly that Sumit or Christopher or Laura or anyone might have. 1.3, 1.2, somewhere in between. So we'll keep you posted on that. Thanks, everyone. We are good. If there's no questions, I think I'll close the meeting.
Sounds good.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye. Have a good day. Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks everyone.